I'm sitting here reading the news, and there aren't many things that I will go on rants about. Most certainly not things about disability, because anybody that really knows me knows that I have one, but it's not really something that is a major factor that I'll go and march about. But this type of thing really pisses me off. I can't post it in the video, but I'm reading this article about this woman who has made dolls with various disabilities like Down syndrome, and she's made some cancer dolls and dolls with cerebral palsy to highlight things and the point that just because you have a disability doesn't mean that you can't have toys that speak directly to you. And of course you got a bunch of parents, and for this article all of these parents seem to be in Britain. You got a bunch of parents crying that, oh, heaven forbid these dolls make fun of my child. These dolls are meant to pigeonhole them and make fun of them, and they're not meant to help them or give them a sense of identity. And it's that type of thing that really pisses me off, because I figure if anything, we need that sort of thing, especially when you're growing up. You have a lot of people, and this was never my problem, but you get a lot of people that really, when you're different, noticeably different from the crowd, you're isolated because you don't have really anything to identify with. And when you get parents like that, that feeds into the whole, oh, we'll sweep it under the rug and we'll never let anybody know that anything's wrong. And if there's any phrase I hate that's both true and false, if there's any phrase I hate more than anything in the world, it's hearing, oh, you're just like anybody else. And that's a load. I mean, if I was just like anybody else growing up, I'd have been out running on the fields and playing football and, probably breaking bones the normal way like any other kid should have been doing. No, I'm not normal, and I resent any parent telling a child with a disability that they're just like everybody else. What you should be doing is saying, no, you're not like everybody else, but that doesn't make you any worse. If anything, you have challenges that you're going to have to overcome, and that makes you stronger. But I think to sit there and feed into this mentality of, I'm going to cushion my child by telling them that, everything's fine and they're okay, is crap, because it's a bandage on a bullet wound. It doesn't even help. It might help that day to make them feel better, but it doesn't give them any long-term strength to deal with this in the future. So I think these toys are a brilliant idea, and I'm looking at the website now. This doll has got all the features of a typical Down syndrome patient, and being the cousin of somebody with Down syndrome, I find this fantastic. I mean, she is way past the stage where she would need something like this, but I would have loved growing up if I had something to play with that had crutches, or this one's in a wheelchair. I wish I could show it to you. Had crutches or a wheelchair, something that looked more like me. Not that it gave me an issue playing with normal dolls, but it would have just been something, oh, this thing kind of looks like me, that's kind of cool. No, you got these parents that are like, oh, this is pigeonholing my child, and other kids are going to make fun of them. You know what? Kids are going to make fun of your kids anyway, whether they're normal or not. And the fact that they're not means they're probably going to get teased more anyway. Your job as a parent is to give your kid the confidence to tell these kids to piss off. I mean, I realize not everybody can do that, or at least not everybody can do that the same, but hell, that's the way I was brought up. I can only remember getting teased once, maybe twice. And for me, I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't have my days where it gets me down, and I'd rather not talk about my disability. And that another parent in here was mentioning that her 14-year-old daughter doesn't like having her disability mentioned. At 14 years old, I know you're full of teenage angst, but shove it. At that age, you should be able to deal with the fact that your disability can be spoken of. But anyway, like I was saying, I only remember getting teased once. And I got my days where, I get down and, woe is me and why couldn't I be like everybody else. That comes with the turf. And, you better believe if somebody comes up and, offers me some reasonable and viable method of fixing myself, you wouldn't be able to get me off that table fast enough. I'm not one of these people. I'm not one to embrace my disability, but it's a part of me and it's something that I deal with. And because of that, I'm a stronger person for all the things that I've had to go through. And I think these particular parents and ones like them that want to, just crucify people for doing things like this. And this doll has a seeing eye dog. Parents that want to crucify people for things like this need to get a grip on reality. They're not doing their kids any favors. They're not doing. It's just no good, And like I said, harsh as it sounds, and heaven forbid my children have a disability, but I'll never be that type of parent. I'll never be you're just like everybody else. No, if my child is messed up, I'll tell him so. But you know something? Son or daughter? It doesn't make you any less of a person. It doesn't make you any less worthy of being loved or cared about. You're different. And that's going to, I'm not going to lie to you, that's going to cause you some difficulties, and it's probably going to cause you, some hardships in the rest of your life, but it will make you stronger. It's your job as a parent is not to cradle your kids constantly. Your job as a parent is to foster strength in them. And help them to become strong, independent, and productive members of society as best they can be. Now, obviously, some of these kids in here, realistically, they're not going to be as productive as any other John Q. Public, and that's realism. It happens. But that doesn't devalue their worth as a human being. And I think, like I said, to sit here and cry about these dolls, pigeonholing these people and mocking them and making fun of them is ridiculous. I'm reading this thing again, and one parent talking about the Down syndrome doll said, it's so one-dimensional. It doesn't tell you that the child with Down syndrome can be funny or witty or, whatever. It's a doll. Its job is to sit there and look pretty or look like the child that owns it. It's not supposed to get up and do a dance or talk to the child. Some dolls talk, I guess. But it's not supposed to sit there and have intelligent conversations. It's a doll. Its job is to sit there and nurture a little girl's mothering capacity. So, yeah. In short, people like this, really, seriously, get a grip. You people are the reason why I embrace things, and I wish I had my shirt with me now. You people are the reason why I embrace shirts that say, I'm just in it for the parking. Do the world a favor and have some guts. That's it, I'm done.